Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really plunging into the LVMH Group's 2024 annual report.
Yeah, getting under the hood a bit.
Exactly. We want to understand the sort of inner workings of this luxury powerhouse
Hmm.
and think of this less as, a dry financial review.
Definitely not that.
More like exploring how creativity really drives the business, how tradition turns into innovation.
And how a giant like LVMH handles a world that's, well, constantly changing.
Right. So if you've ever been sort of captivated by those iconic brands, Louis Vuitton, Dior, and wondered, what's the strategy behind it all, this deep dive should be interesting for you.
Absolutely. We've gone through the report, pulled out what we think are the really compelling
Just
bits.
trying to connect the dots.
Yeah, trying to give you a curated look at what drives their thinking, how they see things unfolding globally. If you're curious about that magic behind, say, Louis Vuitton or even Sephora, we'll try to link their philosophy to what they actually do.
Okay, so let's get right to it. The core ideas. The report flat out states that creativity and innovation. Well, they say it's in their DNA.
Strong language, DNA.
It is. And they say it's the key to their maisons, their brand's success and reputation. It sounds like more than just, a marketing line.
Well, what's interesting is how much they stress it. This combination, creativity and innovation, as like the engine for long-term strength. It suggests they're actively trying to stay ahead, in a really competitive space, always adding new ideas, new ways of doing things.
So future-proofing the brands almost.
Kinda, yeah, while still holding on to that heritage. It's a balancing act they talk about a lot. Deliberate.
And speaking of competitive spaces, 2024, it threw up some challenges, didn't it? Stefan Bianchi, the group managing director, he talks about a more fragmented world.
Yeah, geopolitical stuff, the green transition.
Yeah.
He points to those.
It sounds like he sees it as a real sort of turning point for luxury.
I think so.
Yeah.
And if you look, economically, different parts of the world are moving at different speeds. That adds complexity, right?
For sure. Consumer confidence, spending.
Yeah.
It all gets unpredictable.
But Bianchi's take is interesting. He sees opportunity in that fragmentation.
Opportunity, how so?
Well, he suggests that it's fertile ground for new designs, new kinds of experiences, maybe reaching different customer groups entirely.
Ah, okay. But it's not just doing the same thing everywhere anymore.
No, that's the key point he makes. He really stresses understanding local markets, getting specific.
Catering to local tastes and nuances.
Exactly. This idea of one single global luxury customer. It's looking a bit outdated.
So LVMH is shifting towards more tailored strategies.
It seems that way. Using their teams on the ground, leveraging that local knowledge, moving beyond that broad brush approach to something more resonant, locally resonant.
Makes sense. No, beyond just navigating all that global change, there's this constant theme in the report. Excellence at every level.
That comes up again and again.
Bianchi talks about it almost like a fundamental principle. It guides everything, he says, from sourcing materials.
The very start of the supply chain.
Yeah, that whole network getting products out.
Yeah.
Right through to the moment you walk into a store.
And he frames it as a duty, which is interesting. The foundation of their value, their reputation.
So it's not just about making nice things.
No, it's presented as more holistic.
Mm-hmm.
Quality, creativity, and increasingly sustainability, too. Calling it a duty signals that long-term view, doesn't it?
Yeah, this commitment is what makes the brands desirable generation after generation.
That seems to be the idea.
And they certainly have the brands. 75 maisons, is it?
75, yeah. Across 6 different groups. Wines and spirits, fashion and leather goods, perfumes, watches, retail.
Like Sephora in retail.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And what's just, staggering is the history behind some of them.
Right. Ruin Art, 1729. Moet and Chandon, 1743.
Hennessy, 1765. Chaumet, 1780. You're talking centuries.
Even Louis Vuitton, 1854. Or Tiffany, 1837. That's serious heritage.
And it's not just, a fun fact that history is core to their identity. It gives them that authenticity, that timeless feel people connect with.
But it's not only about looking backwards, is it? These maisons, they depend on some incredible skills.
Oh, absolutely. The craftsmanship.
Yeah.
Think about making a trunk or blending a perfume at Guerlain. Highly specialized stuff.
And LVMH seems very aware they need to protect those skills.
They do. They're actively investing in it. That Institut du Métier d'Excellence, the IME.
Right, you mentioned that. Training apprentices.
Yeah, 750 new ones in 2024 across 8 countries. It's concrete action, passing down those unique skills.
Safeguarding quality, but also, like you said, cultural heritage, too.
Precisely.
Okay, another big theme that jumps out is sustainability. their Life 360 program.
They're keen to talk about that.
And they're highlighting some, frankly, impressive results, like hitting their 50% reduction target for energy-related greenhouse gases early.
Yeah, 2 years ahead of schedule. That's significant.
It suggests their strategies are actually working.
Seems like it. A mix of energy efficiency improvements and using way more renewables. They said 71% renewables in 2024.
Wow. And they even have awards, the Life 360 and Stores Awards.
Yeah, encouraging sustainable practices, right, where customers interact with the brands, trying to make it visible.
And it's broader than just energy, right? They're looking at the product life cycle, too.
Definitely. Things like Source.
That's the one reselling unused fabrics.
Yeah, textiles, leather, giving them a second life. And also pushing repair and refill services much more.
Over 10 million products repaired, refilled, or taken back in 2024. That's a lot.
It is. It shows a real move towards that circular economy idea, extending the product life.
And they're looking at nature impact, too. Vineyards, cashmere.
Right, getting specific validations for how they manage those resources, addressing the impact right at the source where the materials come from.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Culture, arts, philanthropy. LVMH seems quite involved there, too.
Yeah, that's another dimension. They list quite a few things. Funding research, supporting hospitals.
And that big donation for the Chardin painting for the Louvre. Basket of strawberries.
Alongside private donors, significant cultural contributions. It suggests they see their role as broader than just commerce.
Investing back into the cultural landscape.
Seems like it. And supporting young talent, too. The LVMH Prize for Fashion Designers, loaning out those amazing Stradivarius violins.
Nurturing creativity beyond their own walls.
Exactly. And partnerships like with Harlem's Fashion Row, promoting diversity. It's about engaging with the wider community.
And then, of course, there was Paris 2024, the Olympics and Paralympics.
Couldn't miss that. They were an official partner.
A massive stage to showcase their craftsmanship.
Huge. A really unique platform.
Yeah.
And they spread the involvement across different maisons.
Louis Vuitton with the torch relay. Dior sponsoring athletes.
Berluti designing the French team's outfits for the opening ceremonies. Chaumet doing the medals.
Chaumet designed the medals. Wow.
Yeah. And they had La Maison LVMH, a place to celebrate victories. It was a very strategic, very visible engagement with the games.
Showcasing the sheer range of skills within the group.
Exactly. To billions of people worldwide. Powerful stuff.
Okay, finally, the report dives into what some of the individual maisons were up to in 2024. Lots of activity there.
Oh, yeah, tons. Louis Vuitton back with the America's Cup, making trophy trunks. Dior's Lord of E skincare getting a revamp.
Tiffany's Wonder exhibition in Tokyo.
Right, celebrating diamonds and the Japanese influence. And their love for our oceans initiative with the recycled plastic bracelet.
Louis Bulgari celebrating 140 years. That Serpenti Eterna necklace sounds incredible.
140 carats of diamonds for 140 years. And their Save the Children partnership, still going strong, raised over $115 million now.
Amazing. Tag Heuer getting deeper into Formula One. Chaumet, besides the medals, had a big event in Venice.
Guerlain pushing fragrances. Loro Piana hitting its centenary with that Harrods takeover.
Sephora with a rare beauty partnership focusing on mental health. Le Bon Marché hosting artist Daniel Buren.
Belmont's luxury hotels. Rimowa growing with its sustainability program. Berluti getting praise for the Olympic uniforms. Fendi focusing on bags and fragrances. Lowe's big Shanghai exhibition.
Givenchy appointing Sarah Burton. Kenzo reaffirming its style. Zenith celebrating 160 years. Fred doing well with high jewelry. Ripassi marking an anniversary.
Parfums Christian Dior also working on that Lord of E skincare. And even a Swiss clockmaker, Lepe 1839, joining the group.
It's a lot.
It is. But what you see looking at all those examples is how that core philosophy, creativity, heritage, excellence, sustainability actually plays out.
Right. It's not just theory. It's happening in specific ways at each maison.
Exactly. Tailored to their own history, their own market. It makes the overarching strategy feel much more tangible.
So wrapping up this deep dive then, what's the big picture from LVMH in 2024?
Well, I think it paints a picture of a company really grounded in that creative spirit, but also very pragmatically navigating a tricky global scene, always pushing for excellence.
And this whole family of brands, these maisons, each with its own story, its own heritage.
Yeah, they're evolving, they're embracing sustainability, they're contributing culturally. It's this complex interplay, isn't it? Luxury, craftsmanship, but also very forward-looking business thinking.
It underscores that constant balancing act we talked about earlier, honoring the past, but driving innovation. Adapting.
That seems to be the recurring theme, yes.
Which brings us to a final thought for you, listening. LVMH puts so much emphasis on balancing heritage with innovation. So, thinking about brands today, what parts of tradition do you think are really crucial to hold on to, to keep that unique identity, that connection?
And maybe the flip side, how can brands best weave those timeless elements together with genuinely new thinking? How do they stay relevant and desirable in a world that just keeps changing?
Something to chew on after this deep dive.